The beginning of April. It's that time of year in spring where the weather is kind of all over the place. One minute you're going to have some warm weather, and then the next day it's going to be snow, minus degrees once again, almost like winter is on its last gasp of life until November, December rolls around. And today is really warm, and it's a perfect segue to introduce you to the next episode of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. So, it's Friday, it's very nice out here, and it almost feels like a flashback to the old days pre-COVID, when if I was going to be working all days at the office, that I'd want to stick around and grab a pint somewhere in downtown, or Old Montreal for that matter. And because it's a rare occasion I'm here on a Friday afternoon, I thought, let's go and grab a pint around the old port, because I have a spot where I want to hit up. Actually, it's a spot I wanted to hit up for a little while. It's just weather, wind were not really permitting for me to, or at least they didn't, losing my words, I think I need my beer. I think what I wanted to say is that the weather wasn't as nice, so I didn't want to do it those days. So today, it's clear, and it's perfect motivation. Yeah, if you're looking closely, I am trying to imitate that statue in the background. I don't care. I'm sometimes okay with being the cheese ball, or as my buddy would say, an aged cheddar factory. So, Old Montreal. I have done a good number of episodes around here, but not as many as I probably could do, just because I've been focusing a lot on trying to get a lot of the other boroughs of Montreal explored, especially stuff that I haven't really done much in the past. But in terms of other good spots I've been to, I know that one of my most popular episodes is the Gibby's restaurant one that I did back in the beginning of 2023, where I did Celle Grise and that restaurant. And I'll put a card in the top right corner for you if you want to revisit that one. But I'm not going to be going to that brewery because I've already documented it twice before. I have one that I want to revisit before going to get a little bit of Caribbean cuisine, fusion that is. But before we do all of that, here's my suggestion for you. Hit that subscribe button below and put your notification bell on. That way, if there's a new video ready to view, you're going to get a pop-up on your phone. Oh, at the same time, give me a thumbs up in the beginning. The more likes I get, the more these videos are promoted all across YouTube. So that means you're actually helping me more than you realize.
It's hot here at night, lonely black and white on a hot summer night. Don't be afraid of the world we made on a hot summer night.
Romy's. This is an American bistro that I saw opened up within the last year, but this used to be a different restaurant that I recall visiting like maybe once, Boris Bistro. I pass by here sometimes on evening walks around Old Montreal because, well, it's probably hard to see on camera, but if you were to get a look behind the fence, this is where they would have had their terraces, and at nighttime they'll have a very cozy atmosphere, like a lot of LED lights around the tree, almost like perfect if you want to bring a lady out to dinner and treat her well. I don't know, one day I may want to try that out to see what it's like, because if they got good tartare, I am in business. And I say as a guy who knows how to make his own tartare these days. Of course, whenever I go to a bistro too, another easy meal to get is mac and cheese that you can almost get a dime a dozen in all these restaurants. Case in point, the Valier Bistro that I visited probably around, oh yeah, that was the beginning of 2023, where just came here for a few pints and took a walk around the old area of Montreal. If you want to see it, I'll put a card in the top right corner for you and you can watch that one. I'm saying this a lot, but I kind of find it hard to believe that it's been a little over 2 years since I recorded that episode. Now if I was to go back to the early days of the channel, some of those are approaching almost 5 years old. That's crazy. Yeah, I kind of expect this to be happening right now. It is the beginning of April, so some parts of town are going to be starting to install their terraces around here. I know if you were to go around the Plateau Mont-Royal, that's one of the earliest spots to get them done, but some parts, I guess, of downtown, Old Montreal, and even the Centre-Sud will start to get them set up. I guess it's all a question of, well, I guess my understanding is the permit, the cost of it, and how worthwhile it's going to be. I guess if you have a place with a lot of pedestrians, a lot of people with foot traffic, you'll want to have your terrace out longer and hope that you have the weather to justify it. Oh yeah, you wonder where I am now? St. Paul Street. This is an area of Old Montreal that I've kind of walked by a few times. Visited Stash Cafe. I'm sure there's other spots I could think about for later on, but we'll get to that. What in the world? You know, I passed by St. Paul a few times over the years, and I feel like every couple of years they're digging up the street to redo it. I think if you can't do the job right the first time, it makes you think you're going to do it right the second. Construction in Montreal, you know, it's never ending. I didn't expect that because I would have shown off a few places I was thinking about. But I guess I could point out Wolfman and Wolf and Workman. I hit that up once last year for my birthday with a couple of old friends, like people from high school I hadn't seen in so long. And I thought it was pretty good. Good draft beers. There was a good, some seafood dish I had, I don't remember exactly, but I might have to document that one of these days because they do have Madry on tap. Oh yeah, and one of the brews they got is the Burgundy Lion, the Blonde, that I'm more than familiar with because I did go to Burgundy Lion ages ago. Oh yeah, that's actually relatively recent, so I'll put a card at the top right corner for you and you can watch what I did Burgundy Lion and Liverpool House. Great spot, by the way. Haven't been to that spot in back of me, but it is one I would like to visit one of these days. Modavi. From what I could see, it looks like it's more of a wine bar, so in case I ever wanted to get a glass of wine as opposed to a beer or a whiskey, that would be the spot. Or, the other thing that seems interesting is that it seems like it's a jazz bar where you could get some live jazz. One of the only other spots I could think of I visited for that was probably the House of Jazz. I think that's what it was. Yeah, the House of Jazz that existed in, on President Kennedy. Sadly, that closed down, but there is still one located around Laval. I know there's also the upstairs jazz bar. It's around Mackay, Bishop, Crescent in that general area. So we have to pay a visit one of these days. But anyways, that is on the corner of St. Paul and Saint Laurent. So that means I'm now on the eastern side of St. Paul Street, where there's a couple of interesting restaurants around here. Oh yeah, I think there's also a Pub St. Paul. I will have to document one of these days, just because some of the poutines they got are named after rock stars. But I'm not even thinking of that right now. The only thing I'm thinking is that I got the Bonsecours Market just up ahead, and I'm gonna go get myself a brew at a familiar joint. Yep, I told you I was going to be going to one of my favorite spots around Old Montreal, and I wasn't lying. BreWskey is always my go-to place if I ever want to go right by the old port and grab a pint, because they got a great selection over here. And I know I've shown this place off many times on the channel, and I'm just going to plug one of my earlier videos back in 2021. I'll put a card in the top right corner for it, because it showed me going through downtown, around Chinatown, over here, and I think there was a rooftop terrace around St. Vincent Street that I hit up for tartare, and just showed off some of the views. But it's a microbrewery here, and one thing I've noticed on the menu is that they got no shortage of IPAs. If I was to look at this, a good chunk of at least half of them would be India Pale Ales. It's not for everybody, but if you do like your fruity ones, they also got their selection of New England IPAs, which usually have Motueka, Nelson Sauvin, and Citra hops. And speaking of Nelson Sauvin, I have a new one over here I'm going to be tasting that I haven't seen in stores in a can yet, and I don't think I've tried over here. I'll admit that I got this one for the name, Blackmore Road. It's their IPA with Motueka, Nelson Sauvin from the Garston Hops Farm. 6.7%, so it's typical of the IPA style. But the main reason I got it is because of the name Blackmore. It made me think of Richie Blackmore, the ex-guitarist of Deep Purple, who wrote the song Smoke on the Water, or at least wrote the riff. So I thought I would do a cheers to Friday, to all of you, to springtime, and also a cheers to one of the best guitarists on the planet. Oh yeah, loving this one. Good strength, enough fruits, and if you look at this, it does look like I'm drinking orange juice, so this is the perfect beer for the Wandering Ukie. What more can you ask for as an appetizer? Super delicious. I've sung my praises about this place again, but I'll keep doing it repeatedly. As long as it's here, I'm not going anywhere. And I probably mentioned before a little bit about this brewery, but it takes up a lot more space at the Bonsecours Market than I even realized. And I've been to almost every single spot. As a matter of fact, when I recorded that video back in like September, October 2021, when I first showed this place off on camera, I was in this very part of the bar. Next year I was over on, oh yeah, this was during the Summer in the City episode, where I was on the front side of this, facing de la Commune Street, just in front of the old port. But then I also did do a visit to the other side, which is more the pub. So the difference is that this is the tap room, which has some different meals, like you have tartare, like easier nibbles. The other side's a pub, so it has your typical burgers, fish and chips, and probably a different beer selection too. But they've expanded over the last year or two, where they have an annex now, just on the, my right-hand side. And it's really taken up a lot of space now, but I'm grateful for that. And the good news too is that the distribution has improved over the last few years, so that if I'm not here and I want to have some BreWskis, I can go find it anywhere in the store. Very nice indeed. And looking at this menu too, I do feel like that there's going to be some that I'm going to want to do as a galopin/taster, or perhaps I'll do a little taster flight just in case. We'll see very soon. Very tasty IPA as usual, but once again, anytime I come here, I'm really disappointed with any of the rations that I have. But I decided to make my decision here, and just like one of the videos I did back in 2022, I am doing a taster platter to try a few beers that I wouldn't necessarily try like on my own on a pint. Never mind the fact that it's probably styles I wouldn't always go for. And some of these I picked just because the name or the style of beer, or got a recommendation from one of the barmen. So let's jump right onto this. First one that I got here is a very light amber style lager. It's supposed to be Vietnamese, not Vietnamese, Vienna style lager. It's dark. This one is called, well, it's going to be spelled W-I-E-N, but that means it's pronounced Vienne, as in Vienna. 4.7%, and the fact that it's amber probably means it's caramelized malts, but I am going to see how sweet this is. Yeah, not bad at all. It kind of reminds me of a little burgundy that you get from Resto de Montreal. So it's like sweet, but not too sweet that's overpowering. But also, it's also the same strength. This one here I got is because of the name, Pink Roots. This one seemed like it's very interesting. I don't usually go for very fruity beers, but on occasion I'll do an exception because I think it's interesting material. But also I have Julie in the comments section who will probably be looking at this and think this is her style of beer. So unlike the other one, which is made out of barley or malt as they say, this is made out of wheat, which means it's a white beer. And what they use in this is, what's this say? Pink Boots malt, so Pink Boots barley. I have no clue what that is, but you know, it's something interesting. But they also add mandarin, dragon fruit, hibiscus, so it's like a nice melange of whatever you want to think about, and almost feels like this could be a summer brew. Yeah, I like it, but I guess when I think pink roots, I think pink elephants on parade like I'm Dumbo. People are probably watching me with a camera, but whatever. And I still have that Dumbo on film on VHS. But we're going to move on to something that's more grounded in reality. We have the BreWskey, which is their dry stout, and it's 4%, so it's not going to be the most dangerous fucker on the planet. There's a couple of them over here that are like in the 9, 10, 11, even almost approaching 12% beers. Some of those you definitely don't want to abuse. And this, well, we'll see what this one is like. It's like Guinness, but it has a lot more flavor in it than Guinness. I say repeatedly on my videos here that Guinness is a beer that I recommend to people who don't want to try a stout but don't necessarily like the strongest of the stouts. So no imperial stouts, no stouts that have chocolate, coffee, vanilla in there, just like a basic smooth beer. So yeah, it's a good one. Anything I should know about it? Served on nitro. Well, nitrogen, I guess. But, bad joke aside, next one here is the one that the barman actually recommended to me, the Regal Mosaic. So what this is supposed to be like a lager, like a regular blonde, but they add mosaic hops in here, so it means it's supposed to be hoppier, like hoppy lager, but not necessarily hoppy to the point it's an IPA. And he also told me that it's only about 5.2%. So it means that given everything else I've had over here, it's probably worth a check. Okay. Yeah, very nice. I can taste the hops here, but it's not an overpowering hops like a regular IPA or a West Coast IPA. So pretty satisfying the menu here. If I was to choose my favorite, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just do the pink boots one more time. The pink boots one is actually pretty good, and it might be my favorite of a lot. So pretty satisfying tasting platter, and a good way to kind of wrap things up over here before I get to my next destination, which is going to be some Caribbean cuisine, or Caribbean fusion as they say. And I'll admit, I'm choosing this restaurant just because I have a Billy Ocean song in mind, so that'll be the next musical montage. It's sometimes funny just how close things are without you realizing it, because I kind of wanted to hit this up back in February, January, but the thing is that the weather wasn't permitting me to do it because the wind was crazy, and I thought I don't want to try to record with the wind in my microphone. So this spot is Kwizinn. It's a Caribbean fusion style restaurant that I've read about. I've seen on my Instagram, Facebook feed, and I thought, okay, it's coming up so much that I should probably give it a check one of these days. And I'm kind of liking it so far with the decor, the look of the drinks, and everything else. Of course, in my case, because I'm more of a beer guy as opposed to a wine, cocktail, or other kind of beverage guy, it's always a crapshoot, or it's like a game of chance if ever I come here, because I think, is there something I'm going to enjoy? In terms of cocktails, I've talked about it before. I like spritzes. I'm definitely a Negroni guy, old-fashioned, but because they got a few beers for Origin specifically, I thought this is a no-brainer for me. And they happen to have the Hubom IPA on tap. In case you're wondering, yes, I am familiar with the brewery. They're located in Point St. Charles, and actually I've been there before back in 2024 in the beginning. when I record an episode, I was over there and over at L'Essence Taverne. If you want to see that episode, then I'm going to put a card in the top right corner and you can watch that one. But all this to say, cheers to another fine IPA. Delicious. It's like in the 6.5% range, which is kind of typical for IPAs, like I said. But judging by this, it's not necessarily a New England IPA, but it kind of looks like one, if it makes sense, because it looks like orange juice. It's very cloudy. And then I'm just going to see what else is catching my eye on the menu. There's a few things that look pretty interesting, but we'll wait and see when we do that. So after looking at the menu for a little bit, I had to think, what can I try that's kind of new, but something familiar that I'm not gonna, go crazy over. And I thought they have a plantain burger that looks pretty awesome, as you can see over here. And it looks like what they do is they make their own potato chips, but literally that. It's potato chips like these. The only other spot I could think of offhand that makes them like right on the spot is Chez Roger over up in Rosemont on Beaubien Street East. It's a very similar concept. And they are quite tasty. And the burger itself looks like it's pretty awesome. I had to look up some of the ingredients too just to familiarize myself with it. So a cheese sauce looks pretty awesome. Well, I mean, I am a cheddar factory, as people would say. Onion jam, spicy mayo, and something that they call pickles, which is something I had to look up because I wasn't too familiar with what that kind of cuisine was. But it's something Haitian, almost like a Haitian pickled relish. Let me see if I can get a bit of a description so I can look intelligent on camera. Haitian cuisine, so it's made with cabbage, carrots, bell peppers. So yeah, typical stuff that you would pickle. I mean, I am Ukrainian, so pickling things is something I'm more than familiar with. That said, the chips aren't going to be doing it justice. I am going to have to see what this burger is like. And I hope I don't make too much of a mess on camera. Very nice. Good flavor also. Like, I didn't know what to expect with the flavoring here because I thought it could be kind of spicy depending on what region of the Caribbean you think, but it's spicy enough to give you flavor without burning your inside. And it almost looks like what they do for the bun is to take pieces of plantain, stick it together, and voila. I love it. Pretty good stuff so far. Okay, I'm gonna admit, that was a little bit more spicy than I expected it to be. Because when I took a bite out of that burger, it didn't hit me as hard originally, but it's one of those things that it kind of sneaks up on you after the fact. But it's tasty, it has good flavor. And one interesting thing I was talking about before with my server is that the buns that they make are made out of pressed plantain, so I guess that's how the plantain burger comes into play. Because I've been to some spots where it's like a regular artisanal bun. If you go to McKibben's Irish Pub, they use a potato bun, whatever that means. But here with plantains, that's something brand new, but it's very interesting, and it's something I would definitely recommend if you like to have spicy Caribbean food, and you happen to be in the Old Montreal area. And as you can see over here too, I'm still working the finale of this Kwizinn IPA. Part of me kind of wants to stick around for another beer, but the truth is, I do plan to meet some friends tomorrow as I'm recording this, so maybe I'm just going to wrap things up over here and grab myself a coffee. Because if I was to go a little past the Place Jacques-Cartier, that's where one of the Olympicos is located. The Olympico on St. Vincent that I'm more than familiar with, and it could be a good reason to go there, get myself a little bit of a espresso, cortado, americano, or whatever I feel like doing, and get a booster as I'm walking my way back to the bus terminus. But overall, a satisfactory episode. while I was hanging around downtown Old Montreal and grabbing some beers with some good food. So everybody, thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. So if you like what you see, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my antics, my stories, my wanders, the musical montages, and everything I do on the channel. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, leave in the comment section. I'll see if I can do something down the road. But until then, take care. I'll see you next time and enjoy the ride. As Anthony Bourdain said, it's a quote that I'm more than familiar with.